He opened his eyes. White. Blinding, sterile white. The smell of antiseptic stung his nostrils. Where was he? Panic seized him. He tried to remember. Nothing. The past 4 days were a blank, a void in his mind. He felt a surge of fear, cold and sharp. It tightened his chest, stole his breath. He was adrift in a sea of white, alone and terrified. He tried to sit up, but a sharp pain shot through his arm, forcing him back. He looked down. An IV drip snaked its way into his vein. He was in a hospital bed. Why? What had happened? His mind was a jumbled mess of half-formed thoughts, none of them making any sense. He felt a wave of dizziness, and he squeezed his eyes shut, trying to fight it off. This couldn't be real. It couldn't be. The hospital room was small and impersonal. The walls were painted a pale, lifeless green. The only furniture besides his bed was a metal chair and a small table. A single window looked out onto an equally bleak courtyard. The air was thick with the hum of machines and the hushed whispers of nurses in the hallway. He felt trapped, suffocating in the sterile silence of the room. The sheets were crisp and cool against his skin. The scent of disinfectant lingered in the air, a constant reminder of his predicament. He ran a hand over his face, feeling the rough stubble of several days' growth. His throat was dry, his lips cracked. He longed for a glass of water, a simple pleasure that seemed impossibly out of reach. The minutes stretched into hours. A clock on the wall ticked away the time. Each second, another tick of the unknown. He felt a growing sense of unease. He needed answers. He needed to understand how he ended up here. But the only sound was the steady beep of the heart monitor, a constant reminder of his own fragile mortality. Memories, fragmented and disjointed, flickered through his mind like a badly spliced film. He saw flashes of light, heard snippets of conversation, felt the echoes of emotions long gone. A man in a dark suit, his face obscured by shadows, a blinding flash of white light, a searing pain that ripped through his body. None of it made sense. He saw a woman's face, her features blurred and indistinct. Her voice, soft and soothing, seemed to come from a great distance. She spoke his name, but it sounded strange, unfamiliar. He strained to hear her words, but they were lost in a cacophony of other sounds. The screech of tires, the shattering of glass, a cold metallic click. He pressed his fingers against his temples, trying to ease the throbbing pain. The harder he tried to remember, the more elusive the memories became. They danced just beyond his grasp, taunting him with their proximity. He was lost in a labyrinth of his own mind, and there seemed to be no way out. Then came the dreams, if that's what they were. Vivid, terrifying visions that assaulted him in his sleep. He would wake up gasping for air, his heart pounding in his chest. He dreamed of falling from great heights, the wind screaming in his ears. He dreamed of being chased through dark, endless corridors by unseen pursuers. And always, there was the dying. He would feel his life force draining away, his body growing cold and lifeless. Then, abruptly, he would be pulled back, gasping for air, his heart pounding a frantic tattoo against his ribs. The cycle would repeat itself over and over, each death more agonizing than the last. He didn't understand what was happening to him. Was he going mad? Were these visions real or just figments of his imagination? He didn't know who to turn to, who to trust. He was trapped in a nightmare, and he didn't know how to wake up. Section 5. Wrestling with the Unreal. He tried to talk to the doctors and nurses, but they dismissed his concerns, attributing his confusion and hallucinations to head trauma. He wanted to believe them. He desperately wanted to believe that there was a rational explanation for what he was experiencing. But deep down, he knew that something was terribly wrong. He felt a growing sense of isolation. He was surrounded by people, yet utterly alone. No one believed him. No one understood. He was a prisoner in his own body, at the mercy of forces he couldn't comprehend. He felt like a lab rat, poked and prodded, his every move scrutinized. He tried to fight back, to assert his own reality, but his protests were met with patronizing smiles and increased doses of sedatives. He was trapped in a system that refused to acknowledge his experience, a system more concerned with maintaining order than seeking the truth. Section 6. A Beacon in the White. One night, a new nurse was assigned to his care. Her name was Clara, and she had kind eyes and a gentle touch. Unlike the other nurses, she listened to him without judgment. She didn't dismiss his concerns as delusions. She saw the fear in his eyes, the desperation in his voice. "I believe you," she said softly, her gaze steady and reassuring. "You're not crazy. Something is happening to you, something they don't understand." Her words were like a lifeline thrown to a drowning man. For the first time since he woke up in this sterile prison, he felt a glimmer of hope. She told him about a doctor, a man who had dedicated his life to studying cases like his. A man who believed in the impossible, who had seen things that defied explanation. She slipped him the doctor's card, her touch lingering on his hand for a moment longer than necessary. "He can help you," she whispered. "But you have to get to him. They're watching you, Ishmael. Be careful." Section 7. Embracing the Echoes. Clara's words ignited something within him, a spark of defiance, a refusal to be a passive observer in his own life. He would no longer allow himself to be treated like a lab rat, his experiences dismissed as mere hallucinations. He would find this doctor, this man who believed in the impossible. He would uncover the truth about what was happening to him, no matter the cost. He began to pay closer attention to the fragmented memories that haunted his waking hours and tormented his sleep. He embraced the echoes of the past, searching for clues, for patterns, for anything that could shed light on his current predicament. He started to piece together the puzzle of his life, one shattered fragment at a time. He knew he was racing against time. The authorities were closing in, their suspicion growing with each passing day. He had to escape this sterile prison, this gilded cage they called a hospital. He had to disappear, to vanish into the shadows before they could silence him for good. Section 8. The Unveiling. The escape was a blur of adrenaline and fear. He slipped out of the hospital in the dead of night, Clara's words echoing in his ears. "They're watching you, Ishmael. Be careful." He moved like a phantom, his senses heightened, every shadow a potential threat. He had to trust his instincts, had to believe that he was meant to survive, that his story was far from over. He found the doctor in a secluded cabin in the woods, far from the prying eyes of the authorities. The doctor, a man with wise eyes and a quiet demeanor, listened intently as Ishmael recounted his experiences. When he was finished, the doctor placed a reassuring hand on his shoulder. "You're not alone, Ishmael," he said. "You possess a gift, a rare and powerful ability. You can cheat death itself." He explained that Ishmael was a resonator, a being capable of absorbing and channeling the echoes of life and death. His repeated deaths and resurrections were not hallucinations, but manifestations of his unique ability. He had become a beacon, drawing to him the echoes of those who had died violently, their unresolved energies clinging to his own. Section 9. A Different Kind of Dawn. As the first rays of dawn pierced through the trees, painting the cabin in a soft, golden light, Ishmael felt a sense of clarity he hadn't experienced since waking up in that sterile white room. He was not broken. He was not insane. He was different. He was special. He was a resonator. He had a choice to make. He could run from his abilities, could try to bury the truth and live a life of fear and isolation, or he could embrace his destiny, could hone his gift and use it to help others. He could become a voice for the voiceless, a champion for those who had been silenced by death itself. He looked towards the horizon, the first light of a new day chasing away the shadows of the past. He knew his journey was far from over. In fact, it was just beginning. He was Ishmael, the resonator, and he would no longer hide from who he was. He would face the unknown with courage, with hope, with the unwavering belief that even in death there was life.